The second thing in this lesson was talk about solving absolute values. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to solve equations, find out what the variable is with absolute values. Now, the number one thing you have to understand about when you solve absolute values is that all absolute value equations have two answers. But we have an issue with that, because if all absolute values have two answers, how do you get two answers? If you only have one equation, how do you get two answers from that? Every single equation that we worked up to this point only had one answer. So how do you get two answers from one? Well, what you do is you take this one equation we have and you split it into two different equations. The first one, you write it exactly the way it looks, except for you do not write the absolute value bars. The second one, you write it exactly the way it looks, but you set it equal to a negative number. So you'll see that you have one equal to a positive, one equal to a negative. So now that you have two equations, you solve both of these. So on the one on the left, we're just going to add 2 over, and 2 plus 2 would be 4. So your first answer is 4. On the second one, you're going to add 2 over, and negative 2 plus 2 would give you 0. So your answers are 4 and 0. Now if you want to get fancy, you can put these in braces, and you can write 4 comma 0. So those are your answers, 4 and 0. Let's take a look at number 5. Again, we split it into two equations. 2z minus 9 equals 1, and then 2z minus 9 equals negative 1. So there's your two equations. So on the first one, you're going to add 9 over. You get 2z equals 10. Then you're going to divide the 2 over and get z equals 5. So there's your first answer. On the second one, you're going to add 9 over, but because it's a negative 1 this time, it's going to be 8, and then you're going to divide by 2, and you get z equals 4. So your answers are 4 and 5. So there's your two answers for those. So that's how you solve absolute value equations.